LinkedIn believes B2B marketing can be B2 brilliant, B2 bold, and B2 breakthrough. How? With a platform purpose-built to make B2B marketing mean more for your business. A platform with tools to help you build better relationships with your key customers, to boost your buyer's journey while building your brand. A platform with trusted data and lead generation you need to beat your KPIs, drive ROI, and stand out amongst the competition. And with the targeting tools on LinkedIn, you can reach your precise audience right down to their job title, company name, location, and more to make sure your ads are always seen by those who matter. So let's get ready to be too boldly go where no marketer has gone before, because LinkedIn is where B2B is everything it can be. Rethink your B2B marketing ads and get $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply. Entrepreneurs Enigma is a podcast for the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. It's got the wins and the fails that we all face being entrepreneurs, and how we learn from adversity. Every week I talk to a different entrepreneur with a story to tell. I'm Seth Goldstein. Come with me on the journey. This is Entrepreneurs Enigma. Let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Entrepreneurs Enigma podcast. As you all know by now, I'm Seth, and I should always introduce myself, which is a good thing for podcasts, but most people know what they're getting into when they get into this podcast. Anyhow, I am here with a very exuberant, though COVIDed, is that word COVIDed?
Oh yeah.
Poor Nick Gray today, but he is the author of the 2-Hour Cocktail Party, How to Build Big Relationships with Small Gatherings. So Nick reached out to me. He said, "Can I send you my book?" Reached out to me over LinkedIn and, "Can I send you my book?" I'm like, "Sure, send me your book. I'll read your book. I'll read anyone's book." And I started reading it, and he's like, "Can I get on your podcast?" I'm abso-freaking-lutely. So this is, and I'm holding it up right now for people who no one can see because it's an audio podcast, but holding up so Nick can see his own book. So I have his book right here. There you go. And essentially what this is what I used to do with tweet ups. Now we don't talk about Twitter anymore because Twitter's owned by Elon. But essentially what I used to do with Twitter is I used to get people together at a bar and we all meet and I tell you grow your Twitter following. Well, Nick's little book, it's not that little, it's like 300 pages. It's a very substantive book on how to throw a cocktail party and grow your network. And then when we're talking about network here, we're talking about your social, your business, every kind of network, but in meet space, in person, not just on social media. So Nick, how's it going? You're about to pull a rotary cuff with all the head shaking you're doing over there.
I'm excited. I'm excited to talk with you about this and to talk about. I think networking gets a bad rap. It's got a bad name, right?
It does, because a lot of people are like, "Oh, here's my business card. Nice to meet you," and you never talk to the person again. You come home with a stack of paper and you kill a tree.
Right. It feels transactional and slimy, and people are trying to take more than they give.
It's all about give. It's all about the give. It's all about the give.
Yeah.
And how many podcasts, how many parties have you hosted where they've come around to end up using you for some service that you can help them out with later on, but you never once pitched them? They're like, "Hey, Nick, can you help me out with my party?" And you're like, "Well, sure, I'd love to help you out with the party." How many times has that happened? And how many times have you asked for that to happen?
So the funny thing is, my last business, which was called Museum Hack, we did these renegade museum tours at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Another crazy idea.
We're gonna get into it,
That business I launched on the back of the network of acquaintances that I built through hosting parties. And so that's my whole thing, is that I think we need more acquaintances that we find out about the best opportunities through those loose connections, those weak ties. That's what I'm excited about.
And essentially it's real life LinkedIn. It really is. And I feel like I had a pretty good network. Thank God for LinkedIn, because they would have all fizzled after with the lockdowns and the pandemic. But because of LinkedIn, we all stayed in touch. But now I have to retrain myself to get out from behind the computer screen and host a party.
That's normal, by the way. Everybody is awkward these days. We forget how to make small talk.
Yeah.
And I found that giving people a little bit of guidelines, there's a secret weapon in my book that I speak about that's called guest bios. And
Yeah.
the guest bios are little blurbs about the people that are coming to your cocktail party. So
Mhm.
mine could be Nick lived in New York City for 13 years. He started a company called Museum Hack. Ask him about his new book. They're little blurbs.
Yeah.
It could be about neighbors who like to ride bikes and do yoga, whatever. Those guest bios
Topic
ha-
starters almost,
are
yeah.
topic starters, and it gives people with a little bit of social anxiety, a little bit of introversion, the
Yeah.
confidence to come up and to know what to expect, who's going to be there.
That's wild. And I mean, and I just was going flipping through the book again. I read it through, but I'm flipping through it again because I read it a little while ago because we've been trying to get this podcast and the books for a while now. So the book's been read, and I'm reading it again, and I read something interesting just now that you said, you know, set expectations. Tell them there's going to be an icebreaker. Tell them that there's going to be name tags. It's not dorky, or if it's dorky, it's dorky, perfectly dorky. And
Yes.
but people will appreciate knowing that
Yes.
they're that, and they're also going to know. They also appreciate if they have to take their shoes off at the door.
Yes, knowing those simple things lets
Yeah.
people know what to expect. So I always say, because my party is a little dorky, it's a
Mhm.
little bit weird, there's name tags and icebreakers. I tell people, hey, there'll be name tags because I'm bad with names, and we'll do a round of icebreakers because I want my friends to meet my other friends.
Mhm.
I just talked to a
And
woman.
I have new carpets, so take off your damn shoes.
So please take your shoes off. You know, it's funny that you say that, but people, it's one thing I learned. Sometimes I hate to say that it was women who would always cause the problems, but they would be like, I cannot take my shoes off. I have gross socks on, or like, I didn't do this. Like, I was not planning to take my shoes off. And so I
Yeah.
learned, like, oh, I need to
Warn
tell
people.
people that they're going to take it off. So if they want to wear fancy socks or fun socks or something
Yeah,
like that.
exactly. Or plan your or make sure that, then because then also they'll weed out the people that don't want to take their shoes off.
Sure. Yeah, it's
Or
fine.
people will actually wear socks instead of, sandals.
Yeah. Or fun
Just
socks or something like
exactly.
that.
Topic starters, exactly. So Nick, how did all this get started? What's your origin story? Have you always wanted to be an entrepreneur? I mean, because you started Museum Hacks. You started, so what was the company before?
Before Museum Hack was called Flight Display Systems, and I
Ooh,
gotta
sounds
give
fancy.
it was fancy-ish. It made avionics equipment that was used in
Ooh.
small jet planes. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, and you
Um,
see those two exits, yeah. We're going to take a quick break, hear from our sponsors, and get right back to the show. LinkedIn believes B2B marketing can be B2 brilliant, B2 bold, and B2 breakthrough. How? With a platform purpose built to make B2B marketing mean more for your business. A platform with tools to help you build better relationships with your key customers, to boost your buyer's journey while building your brand. A platform with trusted data and lead generation you need to beat your KPIs, drive ROI, and stand out amongst the competition. And with the targeting tools on LinkedIn, you can reach your precise audience right down to their job title, company name, location, and more to make sure your ads are always seen by those who matter. So let's get ready to be too boldly go where no marketer has gone before, because LinkedIn is where B2B is everything it can be. Rethink your B2B marketing ads and get $100 credits on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply.
yeah, yes, two exits, and I'd say that I was very lucky. I grew up in a middle class family,
Yeah.
but we certainly weren't poor, but we didn't have a lot of money. If we ever
You're
went to a
middle
restaurant,
class, yeah.
middle class, if we went out to eat, you're not getting appetizers or drinks or
Yeah.
dessert. It was,
You're there
sort
for
of bounty.
dinner. You're there for dinner, and it's probably an Applebee's.
Yes, yes, an Applebee's or a Chili's or Longhorn Steakhouse or something.
Oh,
My
so
parents were
that would have
great.
been fancy if it was Longhorn Steakhouse that night,
That's
right?
true,
Yeah.
true, true.
Fridays, remember TGI Fridays?
TGI Fridays. I actually have a friend who swears by Chili's. His name is Michael Girdley, and he says Chili's is surprisingly a cut above all the other chains. Have
They
you
are
been there
really good.
recently?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I went to the Applebee's, and I live out just outside of Philadelphia in Doylestown. And since Applebee's are franchises, every once in a while they get a little creative with the franchise food.
Oh,
And our Applebee's up here is pretty good considering that it's a chain.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, they
It's
might
neat
get
to
better
do that.
quality chicken for all I know.
Maybe they do as that one.
Who
Oh, I
knows?
wonder if which ones are franchises and which ones are owned.
Yeah, they usually can tell, like, on the cards, they say at the very bottom, this is it's a so and so company.
Right.
Very cool.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
you're a middle class family, and have you always wanted to be an entrepreneur?
Grew up, my dad was the entrepreneur. That's where I
Mm,
got it from. He
it's
was
in
the
the
mad
blood.
scientist. It's in the blood. And so even in middle school and high school, I was starting businesses. I think the first significant business I started was in high school. I had a web hosting company
Oh,
where
wow.
I was
That's kind of
reselling. Yeah, it was
in high
cool.
school.
In high school, and this was 1996, so this was the early days
This was like
of.
that was like 2 years after the internet launched, because 'cause you're around
Yeah,
my age,
right.
so yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was the early days of like the consumer internet. And then in college, I tried to start some companies. I actually tried to start a software company and I moved to India because I didn't have money. And I said, well, I'll
Wait, so
hire cheap
you did
programmers.
wait, so but you moved to India because you didn't have money. Don't you not realize that moving to India costs money?
Well, I figured since I didn't have money to hire programmers here in America, I could hire them cheaply over in India and
Which
I
is
could make
true.
my dollar go stronger there. So that was my
But
thinking,
why
at least.
why'd you move there? I mean, couldn't I guess back then it was harder to reach out and
Yeah, yeah, I just
outsource?
wanted to
Or do you just
have
want the
yeah.
experience?
2005 when I did it, 2004 is when I went over there, 2004, 2005. It was I wanted to be there. This wasn't the same
I hear
idea
India's
of
a no,
Zooms.
but I hear India's, I mean, pretty freaking awesome country.
Yeah, oh
I
my
mean,
god, it
and
made
you're walking down New Delhi, which is a big city, and there's cows in the street, and it's
right?
just it's just like, "Wait, that was a cow."
Right, right. Yeah,
Wait,
such
and
nice
then there's a
people,
bus
awesome
over there.
people.
I mean, I wanna go to India so bad. This looks like such a fun crazy, absolutely nuts, but it seems like New York on steroids.
It's intense. One thing I got to say is I spent a little bit of time in Bangkok, Thailand,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I liked it. I did like it, love it. But the local friends that I made there, because I don't speak Thai and
Mm,
because their English is not as fluent,
mm.
I wasn't able to create deep friendships. But in India, everybody I'm hanging with speaks English fluently, and I
Yeah,
can have these.
only thing they have is the roll, which is sometimes hard to understand, but if you
Yes,
put if they slow down and you slow down,
yeah,
you can understand. It's like if they're going with warp speed and you're going warp speed, oh,
right,
forget about it. It's like talking to someone in Louisiana.
right. But
Sorry,
it's also this
Louisiana.
beautiful sing-songy type accent,
Yeah.
and I loved it over there. I had a really good time.
And so then you came back over here, and when did you start the avionics company?
The avionics company was actually a family business. My
Oh,
father
wow.
started it in the basement of our house,
A
and I
tinkerer.
joined, right? I joined after my software company basically didn't failure to launch. I came
Uh,
home, my dad was running this small tiny company in the basement of our house. I helped him hire his first employees, and then we grew the business to over 70 employees.
holy crap, from
And
a basement. This is like a Steve Jobs story.
it was a nice story. It was a good story. He really was this mad scientist who had all these ideas for these new products, and I
Yeah.
helped with all the marketing and magazine advertisements and hiring and things like that.
That's awesome, and then you sold that business and you didn't and how now so now how did the idea of doing rogue museum tours from a guy who hates museums? Because
Right?
you you
Super
don't like
crazy.
you said you don't really like museums, they're kinda boring. I mean, I guess also if you do enough tours in the Met, you've seen it all, and then that can that I mean, I think the first time you go to any museum is kinda like, "Oh, this is cool." But then you've seen the same damn impressionist painting over and over. I mean, Monet had like 27 of the same bridge.
Right?
It's like enough already. I mean, I like
Yeah.
art and all, but I'm like, come on. Like it's not photocopied. It's impressive that it looks exactly the same, but why are there 3 in a row?
Right? They, especially art museums, which
Yeah.
you've identified, they can be very boring,
Snobby.
snobby. They can be overwhelming. I didn't grow up going to museum. I've never taken an art history class.
Yeah.
And so basically, I started to do these tours for fun, for free, for my friends.
And so how did this work if you couldn't stand the museums?
Basically, I showed my friends 10 cool things I found and 3 things I want to steal. I just started going to the museum because a woman brought me there on a romantic date. And so
Oh.
I just started to explore and walk around and be like, oh my gosh, this is so cool, blah, blah, blah. And
Mhm.
I started to show my friends when they'd come visit me in New York, I'd take them back to the museum. I was
Wow.
like, wow, this place is amazing. It's so intimidating. Here's some cool
But
stuff I found.
The Met's pretty. I mean, if no one's been to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Met in New
Right.
York, it's a pretty wild museum. You got art, you got arms and armor. You got a freaking pyramid in there. I mean,
You know it.
oh, I've been to the Met many times. I mean, my dad's a New Yorker. I mean, the Philadelphia Museum of Art. Those are like my two.
Philadelphia Museum of Art is a great museum.
That's a fun museum, and just for architecture lovers. And we can go on forever about that. I mean, architecture was it with the Corinthian columns and all that stuff. I mean, I studied in an architecture class in college, and it's just like it's a fun museum. I haven't been
That's
there
one of
in
my
years.
favorite things to do, actually, is to tour the structure
Yeah, I
of
like to
these
walk around.
incredible,
Yeah,
right? There's just the building itself.
I
Forget
mean, the
about the
Met's
art inside.
well,
Yeah,
the Met's impressive because they have a freaking pyramid inside. I mean, that's like
it's
how many
crazy.
museums have? I mean, all right, the Pergamon Museum in Berlin. um,
Oh,
They
I've
have.
never been there. You went
Oh, you
there?
gotta go to that one. That one in Berlin is a literally the Allies bombed everywhere around it
Oh,
in Berlin, but it survived World War II. And there's the Ishtar Gates. It's insane. We can go on forever. This is not about entrepreneurship anymore, but
uh,
it's insane. But yeah, but so you're taking people around museums that you kind of endured, that you've been to, you've done, you like enough that you can say, hey, here's 10 things I like. Here's four things I would love to take home and put in my on my mantelpiece, kind of thing.
yes, yes.
And then so then you turned it. How did you turn that into a business though?
You know what? It's such a weird story, but I did this as a hobby, for
Yeah,
fun, for free, for my friends. I was obsessed with becoming the best tour guide in the whole world of the Met, just for fun, just as a
yeah.
hobby. Then it was this very secret sort of word of mouth kind of like underground thing. Then this blog wrote about it and they said it was the best thing to do in New York City. Nick Gray's, you know, museum hack tours are the best thing to do in New York City. And overnight, literally 1,300 people sent me an email saying they want to join one of my tours. That's a lot
Holy
of people.
crap! Hey,
And so I was like,
that's a little bit. Yeah.
it's a lot, right? So I was like, okay, there's such a huge waiting list. I guess I'll charge people to skip the waiting list. I didn't really want to charge for it, but I was like, I
Oh,
need to
so if you
hire
want to
more
know
tour guides.
if you wanted to wait,
Yeah.
you could wait.
Yeah.
And then you get it for free. But then you
Yeah.
could charge for the kind of like what's that called? That the express pass at
Skip
Disney
the
World.
line.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So like that was my strategy. That's how I did it. I never thought that it would be a business, but
Wow.
yes. Yeah.
And then you had that was your second exit. Who did you exit to?
I exited to a weird seller finance transaction, which I wrote about on my website and we can
Yeah.
include in the show notes.
Yes.
I sold it to the then CEO and marketing director. They
Of the
came to
Met.
me with an offer. No, no, of
Oh.
my business.
Oh,
So
you
of Museum Hack. Yes.
internal. Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of matrixy or a little inception. You sold it in someone. So it was a not so hostile takeover.
Exactly. I never wanted to sell it, but they came to me with an offer. So yeah. Yeah, it was kind of
You're
cool.
like, I can still go to museums.
Yeah. Yep.
I can still do what I want,
Yeah.
and they're going to give me some money to take. Like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
And so now you're a free agent. You're gallivanting around. If you follow Nick on Instagram, he's causing trouble at concerts,
Yep. Yeah,
and when
true.
I'm telling people to stop with the bullhorns when they protest, trying
That
not to get
that
punched.
that was me.
But it's you gotta follow Nick on Instagram. It is a hoot.
Thank
It's
you for
because it
saying that.
is a hoot. It's I enjoyed it thoroughly. And then you wrote the book, and
Yes.
this whole time you've been doing these parties, you've been meeting people, you've been networking and all that. And then what was the impetus to write the book? I mean, did some company you say, how do you do these? Like, what made you? I mean, write a what is it like a 57 page book? Like
It's a big
you don't just write a 200 plus page book. It has to be
Yeah.
something there.
Have you ever thought about are you going to do a book? Have you ever thought about it from all
I've
these
thought about it for a
interviews you're
while.
doing?
Yes, I have I from Entrepreneurs Enigma. There's a book in here somewhere. On Digital Marketing
Yes.
Dive, there's a book in there somewhere. I
Right?
just at some point,
I think I had always thought about doing a book and
yeah.
I didn't know what value that I could truly add.
Hmm.
And I got so much benefit in my life from hosting these parties. And I learned, again, just through friends asking me, that this was something that you can learn how to do. You can
Yeah,
learn how to host a good event. You can make new friends. I found it so hard to make new friends as I got older. But hosting parties for me was the one thing that unlocked it to let
yeah.
me meet a ton of new people.
That's wild. That's fantastic. I mean, because I mean, it's an approachable book. You're an approachable guy, and it reads like how talking to you. It reads like how you're talking. Like it's very it's you're chuck. I mean, I chuckled at some points. I'm like, this is kind of dorkily funny, and I liked it. I enjoyed it. Then you follow you on social media, and you're like, oh my god,
Yes.
it actually is Nick in a book. It's like like most people like the books don't totally resemble the person, but
Yeah.
this is Nick. This is Nick.
Yeah.
You can get your own piece of Nick on Amazon. That kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah,
So here's
and
a
I
question for
recorded the
yeah.
audiobook too. I
Oh,
recorded
you
the
did?
audiobook myself.
Oh,
I'm really proud of it.
that's good because not all authors are good at reading their books.
Yes.
I've
Yes,
had
yes. It
some people that are like CEOs of companies that read their book, and I'm like, I'm listening to this book to get through it, but oh my god, like Guy Kawasaki. When I interviewed Guy Kawasaki, he admitted to
Uh-huh.
me he has read a few of his books, but the ones where he reads like bits and pieces, and then he has a professional read the rest of it,
Yes.
go over so much easier. I'm
It's
like,
way
Guy,
better. Yeah.
I love your Hawaiian accent, but if I had to listen to it nonstop, it'd be tough.
Yes. That's
Because
pretty
you
funny.
need someone who has like a proper accent, and it's not a proper accent. I just said there either. So here's a question:
Yes.
what is the best thing about being an entrepreneur?
I think the best thing about being an entrepreneur is the freedom to live the life that you want to live, to set your own schedule, to do what you want to do, and to spend your time in the way that you want to spend it.
Oh, perfect. And what keeps you up at night with entrepreneurship?
What keeps me up at night is the people. To be
Yeah.
honest, the role as a CEO, as a leader, I'm not very good at it. To give people a challenging work environment where they can grow, where they can feel supported and rewarded is not easy.
Oh, it's definitely not easy. And then here's something that this actually will be perfect. What is the most important thing to carry with you all the time? Now, this can be physical and mentally, because I'm sure as a museum guy, guide, you have something too. So.
So I always carry with me, I'm holding it up on the video, a notebook, a small little notepad,
Hmm.
and it's usually in my back left pocket. And people think this is interesting, but I've been doing it for 10 or so years, and I just scribble down little thoughts in it. And for me, that has been really helpful to keep me off of my phone. So I don't take
Oh,
a state break. If you tell me a great idea, Seth is like, oh, you have to check out this book. Well, what am I going to do? Jump on Amazon, get on my phone. Well, then on my phone, I see some notification. I
and
get
you never get the
sidetracked.
book. Yeah.
I never get the book, and instead I just have this and I write it down.
I love that. Oh, that is. I mean, I've heard people use the notepad for different things, but that is a great use case because for recommendations. I actually used to do that all the time. I used to have a notebook. I don't know why I don't carry a moleskin in my back pocket anymore. I used to have like a flip up reporter notebook.
Yeah.
I don't know why I don't do that, but I should start doing it again. So
My suggestion, if you're thinking of starting to do it,
yeah.
is try to fill it up as soon as possible and don't treat it like a precious object.
So if you lose it, you lose it.
If you lose it, you lose it, but no, more so, don't feel like every page can only be the most special. Each line
Oh
I
yeah,
have
that.
to, don't feel like, oh, I'm only going to use it when I have something important. Write down everything, fill it up, get in the habit, make it a habit, build
I
the
like that.
muscle
I like
of
that.
writing down stuff in the notebook.
That's perfect. So
I'm
Nick,
showing you here. Yeah.
oh, very much so. So Nick, where can people find you online? Where is your watering hole?
Okay. I have a thing called my friends newsletter that I send out every
Oh,
month or two. That's just cool stuff that I find online, links to great podcasts like this with Seth.
oh, very
And you
good.
can find that on my website at nickgray.net. And then I'm
Okay.
on social media. I love to post on Instagram at nickgraynews. And then for the show notes, I'm going to put in some links about how to host a happy hour, how
Oh
to
yeah,
host a
please know.
clothing
Yeah,
swap, how to do fun stuff like that. You can learn how to host an event, and your friends, your neighbors are going to
yeah.
love you for it.
Oh, that's gonna be awesome. So we'll have that in the show notes, which Nick will promptly email to me. He's telling me all these things, and I'm like, I'm not writing this down. Oh no. You'll just email it to me. We'll put it in the show notes. So Nick, this has been so much fun. I'm glad we finally got to meet. Next time you're in Philly, we'll go to the Philadelphia Museum of Art.
Oh my God, can we please?
Oh, absolutely. I haven't been there in years. In high school, I was one of those dorky kids that would have a membership to the Philadelphia Museum of Art just to go and walk around aimlessly. It's one of those museums you
Yes.
can just walk and every time you find something different.
Heck yes.
We'll definitely do that.
I
So
would
Nick,
love that. That would be so much fun. Maybe we could even do a live podcast recording
oh,
there
we can live stream it
as
if
we
they'll let us.
walk. That
If
would
they
be
let us,
cool.
we'll do it covertly.
Nice.
Very good. Well, Nick, thank you so much for being on the show, and we'll see everyone next week.
Thank you, Seth.
That was a great show. Hey, if you're enjoying Entrepreneurs Enigma, please give us a review on the podcast directory of your choice. We're on all of them. And these reviews really help others find the show. Also, if you're getting value from the show and want to buy me a coffee, go to the show notes and click on the link to help me stay awake while I bring you more great episodes to your ears. That's in the show notes, and I look forward to the next episode. Take care, guys. Goldstein Media hopes you have enjoyed this episode. This podcast is one of the many great shows on the MPN Marketing Podcast Network.
This podcast is coming to you on MPN, the Marketing Podcast Network. There's another show on MPN you might enjoy as well. I'm Jason Falls, host of Winfluence, the Influence Marketing Podcast. Each episode, we talk to brand managers, agency strategists, industry thought leaders, and the influencers themselves about the latest ideas in influence marketing. It'll make your marketing that much smarter. Just visit winfluencepod.com or search for Winfluence wherever you get your podcasts. This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.